Hi, this is Pastor Tommy here with your weekly update and sermon teaser. My guess is what everyone wants to know is how did worship go last week, our first public worship service in 6 or 7 months, and where are we going to go from here? Now, yesterday, a team of us met, the worship people, Samuel, Judy, who coordinated things, my wife, and we talked about what went well in our worship service and what could use improvement in our worship service. And we wrote some things up and we'll be providing that to our elders to discuss how we should proceed. So what are the kind of things that went well? I made some notes for myself. So first, all government requirements regarding social distancing, signing, providing masks, taping off limit areas, etc., were met or exceeded. We did an awesome job at following the rules, at least regarding the signage and the tape and hand sanitizer and all that stuff. So good job on that. We did realize we could use a little more signage outside, but some of that would be mitigated if you're watching the updates. And if you're not watching the updates, you're not even hearing this now, so it doesn't matter. But that said, we had plenty of volunteers. That was another highlight. A lot of people volunteered and helped out. Maybe one of the best things, surprising to me, frankly, is that the check-in went super smoothly and the majority of people showed up early. In other words, I don't remember us telling you need to get there really early and check in so we can start on time, but everyone did that. So thank you very much if you attended. The other thing that was, it wasn't surprising to me because my wife does this kind of stuff and it was her idea, is I'm surprised how much positive feedback we received about those party bags. And so all of you who came to the worship service, you know that there were party bags put together with cake mix and frosting and a sparkling cider and basically an encouragement to go home and celebrate the fact that we had just worshiped. So those went awesome. Generally speaking, it seemed that most of the people who were in attendance really appreciated being there and were able to gather regardless of how well or how polished or how unpolished things were. For me as a pastor, to be honest with you, one of the things that was sort of disappointing was the fact that I was rushing around before the service, and then after the service, when I would typically get to hang out and meet people and check in, it was like the rapture. Everyone disappeared because according to the regulations, we're supposed to, as soon as the service is over, everyone leaves. You guys did a great job at that, but I miss talking to all of you. So that's just my own thing. So about the music, we talked about music quite a bit. And when it came to the music, I think universally, a lot of what we talked about revolved around what a drag it was to sing with a mask, right? So we've received lots of feedback, and it's not going to surprise you that we received lots of feedback and complaints that were at the exact opposite ends of the continuum. In other words, when it comes to singing with a mask, some people said that the tempos in the songs were just too quick, and by singing so quickly, they had trouble both singing and breathing because you get all hot under your mask. Other people said, I wish the tempos would have been faster so we could have gotten it over with. I had the problem that I had because I wore a mask most of the time, even though I'm exempt because of my hearing, is that the song leader sounded to me like Charlie Brown's teacher singing through a mask. So like wah 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 wah. That's what I heard. Either way, we're going to work on that some, and we've got some ideas to make that a little better. And of course, I forgot the questions. If you weren't there, I forgot the questions for the baptisms. I still feel bad about that, and yet the baptism still happened. And so of Leela Lapham and Kai Hill. And communion, the last thing, communion was a little bit wonky as well, to be honest with you. We had the little self-contained cups, and I didn't have fingernails, so I had trouble getting, opening them, and we're going to work on that as well. Probably could use a little better explanation, and with some practice, those things will get better. And at the end of the day, bottom line is it wasn't a disaster, which we're going to take as a win. So what now? Well, what's going to happen now is we've submitted some ideas to the elders about how to move forward, what we should do, what kinds of things should happen. That'll happen next Thursday. And so when and if we meet corporately again, it'll be at least November. So I hope we communicated that beforehand, that this past Sunday was sort of a test run, and then we would meet and we'd evaluate, we'd talk to the elders, and we'd see how we're going to move forward. So if and when we meet again, I'm sure we're going to meet again, it'll probably be in November. And so until then, what I'd encourage you to do is participate in a home group. If you are not participating in a home group, you are missing out. In our own home group on Sunday mornings, we watch the sermon and then we actually sing a hymn without masks on. And then we have breakfast together and we catch up with each other and talk about what's going on in people's lives. It is very intimate. It's a great time. I know Judy and I really are blessed by it. So if you want to be part of a home group, just contact Samuel at newhopekent.org and he can connect you. And I would encourage you to just really ask yourself, if you're afraid, to go out or afraid to interact with other people, to really pray about it and pray that God would really give you some peace about that. All of our home groups are going according to government regulations and all that kind of stuff, but they are really a blessing. So I would encourage you to participate in those. Now, as far as this week's sermon coming up, I'm not going to lie. We're looking at 1 Samuel 16, which is this great passage about David being anointed as king, and Saul's just been rejected, and Samuel's afraid, all of these things. And what I'm not going to lie about is that I think the title in the Jesus Storybook Bible, The Teeny Weeny True King, could possibly be the worst title of any chapter of any book in the whole world. There you go. I just put it out there. I know. You don't have to tell me. I know. I read that and I am embarrassed. Yet the story there is very good. If you have a Jesus Storybook Bible, read that in preparation. If you don't have a Jesus Storybook Bible, read 1 Samuel 16 in preparation. And among other things, what we're going to see is that God's way of working in history and God's way of working in the world is almost always upside down and backwards from what we would expect. And in other words, at the end of the day, God's foolishness is wiser than the wisdom of men. We're going to look at that. Of course, we're going to look at the New Testament a little bit as well, for when God told someone else to go to Bethlehem and to pick out the true king, the teeny weeny true king. So with all of that said, I look forward to seeing you this weekend. Have a great week.